Good afternoon, and thank you for being part of the League of Women Voters of McHenry County Candidates Forum. Today's forum is a primary forum for the two candidates from the Democratic Party running for McHenry County Clerk. The winner will then have a runoff in November of 22. Being a candidate is a right, a privilege to represent your views and your constituency, and it's a responsibility. So candidates, thank you for stepping up to run for office. This forum is being recorded on Zoom. The recording will be featured on our Facebook page and then linked to our YouTube channel. Candidates may also link to that page, but the forum must be used in its entirety. The League encourages voters to exercise their right to vote. Tuesday, June 28th is Illinois Primary Day. It's important that voters know what precinct they reside in and their new current or polling location. As a part of the 10-year cycle of redistricting, maps for almost every possible district were redrawn. As a result, many boundaries have changed. New voting cards were recently mailed out, so please take time to read and check for your voting location. And as they say, avoid the lines. You can request a ballot to be sent to you so you can vote by mail. Vote early beginning June 1st. And so it's important, visit the county clerk's office or visit their website for specific times and locations for early voting. Vote by mail, vote early, or on election day. But voters, please exercise your right to vote. And now on to today's forum. I'm pleased to recognize our team. Lee Ekstrom will be doing the timing. Anna Gifford will explain the rules of the forum, and our moderator, Tina Brady-Pettis. So now I'm going to turn it over to Anna.
Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone. My name is Anna Gifford, and I am a candidate forum coordinator for the League of Women Voters for McHenry County. The League's purpose is to promote responsibility through the informed and active participation of all of our citizens. Providing this forum enables members of the community to become better informed about the issues facing the community and the candidates running for office. We are pleased to offer you this service. All the questions for the candidates have been submitted by League members and by the general public. The candidates received and have agreed to the guidelines of the League. I am pleased to introduce our moderator for today, Tina Brady-Pettis. Tina is an active member of the League of Women Voters of Chicago, and we welcome her. Tina, I will turn this over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
First question, Mary. What will your definition of good service be?
But Tina?
Yes.
Oops, we want to remember they get their opening statement first, so we need to.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want to start all over again?
That's okay. We'll have them edit that portion out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's fine. So start with
Mary.
Okay. They're going to start with their opening statements. So, and that will be 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you to the League of Women Voters for holding this forum and giving an opportunity to voters to learn about the candidates. I'm Mary Mahady, and I am running for McHenry County Clerk and Recorder to make sure that voting is accessible to every eligible voter, that ballots are prepared correctly, and that voters can be confident in the process. There are many duties required of the clerk and recorder, but I believe that properly preparing for and managing the elections is the most important responsibility. The current clerk has a well-documented track record of problems in every election under his direction. I will change that. I have experience that my opponent does not. I am a realtor and a township assessor. In both jobs, I deal with all the real estate documents managed by the recorder. I also work with and understand the tax cycle in which the clerk has the key role of preparing our property tax bills. As the township assessor of the second largest township in the county, I have experience in managing the daily operations of a local government office. I determine the value of over 24,000 properties. I work with other department heads to get things done and I have developed a staff that is thoroughly trained, professional, and dedicated to public service. The clerk's office is too important to leave in the hands of someone who is careless in performing the duties required in this position. I care about the county, and I especially care about our elections. I will bring all my proven experience to this office, and I will restore the trust and confidence in this position that we all deserve here in McHenry County. Thank you.
I will introduce Drew.
I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. I'm Andrew Georgie Jr., and I want to be your next McHenry County Clerk and Recorder. Since the 2020 general elections, our elections have been under attack and the results have been questioned. Add that our local elections have had at least one thing go wrong and make the news since our current clerk has taken office. This is why, in order to ensure our local elections are run correctly, it is important that the person holding this office has the skills, knowledge, and experience, and is not just backed by big money and special interest PACs. Once you review my resume, personal bio, and the plan I have to fix the past issues and improve the services of the clerk's office going forward, you will see that I have the skills, knowledge, and experience to ensure all the duties of the office are world-class. Our local elections have had issues they have had because our current clerk was someone willing to put an R behind their name and just make sure there was a Republican running for that office. The Republicans have controlled this county for as long as anyone can remember and felt that just having someone with an R after their name was enough to get them elected and keep control. We as Democrats need to be better than that and make sure the people putting a D behind their name will be able to do the job of the office they are elected to do. If we don't, and our candidate gets elected and makes the same mistake, where are we any better? And what does that say about what we as Democrats want for our people or our chances of ever getting another Democrat elected?
Thank you both for your wonderful inductions. So now we will go on to our candidate forum. First question, Mary. What will your definition of good service be?
My definition of good service would be to make sure that the person who comes into the clerk's office gets prompt service, is treated politely, and gets honest and competent information. Whatever information they're looking for, we need to give it to them and find out where they, if it's not our office, we need to direct them there. My staff needs to be trained to answer those questions and make sure that, again, that they're being polite, competent, and trained to answer the public's questions.
Drew, same question. What will your definition of good service be?
Well, as a quality control manager, basically it's that the customer gets the right product on time, made correctly, and is something that is useful and they're willing to pay for. So I will bring that same kind of attitude to the office of the clerk, that anytime somebody walks in, we will be courteous, treat them with the utmost respect, and do everything we can. Again, if it's not something we handle, we'll try to help them and figure out how they can get what they want done.
Mary, county clerks are responsible for maintaining volumes of documents and data. How will you organize your workload?
So the first thing I need to do is see who is on staff there. There is a lot to do, and there are departments. There's staff that runs elections, that takes care of marriage licenses, birth and death certificates. And there's also the recorder's office. I have to see who is doing what and make sure that all of those documents are being prepared correctly. Again, it goes back to the staff and training the staff and making sure that they know what they're supposed to do, that the supervisors for those departments know what they're supposed to do and are watching the staff and checking regularly to make sure that my staff is doing the correct things. There is a process to record these documents, so meeting regularly with my staff is important as well to make sure that they know I'm there and I'm concerned and that everything comes from me. The directions come from me.
Drew, same question.
Given my background with the Marine Corps, starting out as a clerk typist and going into unit diary control and then an admin chief, my 30 years in quality, dealing with every quality management system from ISO up to aerospace to foods and drugs, every one of them require that you have procedures to for document and records control. So this is something that I've done for over 40 years. It's something that's second nature to me. And the big key will be training, making sure that there are written procedures that show how we handle this and that our office is properly trained in those procedures.
Mary, what do you consider to be the most important issues facing the county clerk's office right now, and how will you propose to address them?
The major issues, one are the way the elections are conducted, and we've already talked about that, how careless the current clerk is. I think that the voter suppression issues are important, where precincts are changed, polling places are changed. We have a significant amount of residents who want to use vote by mail, and the current clerk only wants to use one drop box. I would have drop boxes in multiple locations throughout the county and make it more accessible to voters to make sure that they have the opportunity to vote. I would look at more convenient polling places in their precincts and just listen to the people, see what they need and how we can best accommodate that.
Okay, Drew, same question.
I agree with Mary that the elections are our biggest issues, from people being left off certain precinct ballots to the referendums being wrong, being sued. All of this needs to have a good documented procedure in place. And basically, ISO has a technical standard that I would like to use to supplement the laws that we have in place, because most of the time, 80 to 90% of the laws I've dealt with in all of my factions from being on the village board tell you you have to do something, but not how to do it. And this ISO standard will help us supplement it. Should be my time.
Okay. Yes. Drew, what are your top priorities for the Cook County's clerk office?
For the Cook County clerks, nothing. For
I mean, the county clerk, I'm sorry, county clerk office.
For McHenry County Clerk, basically we need to address the issues from the past, figure out if they're a procedural, documented procedural issue, or if it's a training issue, or a combination of the two. Implement any corrections that we need to, implement a training to make sure our staff is qualified, and then move on from there to do continuous improvements. Take feedback from our election judges and all those in the that deal with it, and try to make things better for the next time.
Mary, same question.
Can you repeat that question, please, Tina?
What are your top priorities of the county clerk's office?
My priorities are to get in there and get to know my staff, know who's doing what the procedures are in place, what procedures have caused issues in the past, and to determine what corrections can be made in order to improve that. Everything that happens in the clerk's office is staff run. You have to have the right process in place. You have to make sure everyone understands their role in the process. And I believe it comes down to making sure that it's a team effort, that we're all working together to make sure that we're doing the best public service we can and working hard to get everything right. So that's the first, those are really the main priorities.
Mary, vote by mail has been promoted by various groups. The voters' request increased demand, yet only 2 ballot collect boxes were established in McHenry County. What will you do to help promote vote by mail ballot connections?
So I agree that vote by mail is important to reach many of our voters. So I would make sure that there were safe and secure boxes located throughout the county. I would work with other local government offices, possibly police departments or village halls, to make sure that we have secure locations so no one's worried about any issue with the boxes. Those are buildings that are usually open at extended hours, so it might give someone an opportunity for more than a 9 to 5 kind of dropping the ballot off. But more boxes throughout the county are definitely needed, and I would make sure that that happens.
Drew, same question. I'll repeat the question because it was kind of lengthy. Vote by mail has been promoted by various groups. The voters' request increased demand, yet only 2 ballot collect boxes were established in McHenry County. What will you do to help promote vote by mail ballot collection?
Well, the same answer I had in 2018. First of all, having been a veteran and used the service, I will always fight for that service to be in place, no matter what, for all to use. As I said in 2018, there are so many government bodies that it's okay that we can go over and drop a payment off, but we can't drop off our mail-in ballots at the same places. And it's the same thing I've been saying about our polling places. We have all these public buildings that we pay for already that we don't need to be privatizing our polling places. And the same goes for our vote by mail drop boxes. We have secure government locations we can use, and we will use them if I'm elected.
Thank you. Mary, does the clerk office election department has a sufficient budget for this election to promote notices of change in polling places and precinct changes?
Well, I would hope that they prepared that, knowing that they were going to be changing the polling places. And I think that the county has an obligation to make sure that voters do, that office does have the budget to make sure that that is sent out. And unfortunately, I'm not positive that they do, because of changing polling places and the possibility that some of those will change before the November election. So again, it comes down to doing things right, preparing to have everything you need, and making sure that the voters get the information they need in a timely manner to make sure they can vote and be a knowledgeable voter.
Drew, same question. I repeated because it was kind of lengthy. Does the clerk office election department has a sufficient budget for this election to promote notices of change in polling places and precinct changes?
They should. I'm not sure that they are spending it wisely. So far, the only thing I have seen is a video they put out on how to vote on election day only. Nothing about mail-in or early voting. There are also next month 2 grants that are coming up due. I don't know if they've applied for them yet. I haven't seen any thing on their website about it, but there are grants out there to help them fund for the security and the notices. And we need to use those. And if I'm elected, I'm going to be looking into every which grant and stuff that we can to help improve our services and hopefully bring the cost down to our taxpayers.
Drew, how would you work to educate voters about elections in the process of running for the office?
Every which way I can, social media, advertisements with the papers. That's one thing. I'm very open. I have to be in my daily work as a quality person. The the person that holds the information to themselves doesn't help anybody else. So I'm very open about that. One of the other things I was issued on is that our county yearbook was totally trashed and only the key elected officials are in there. That's something else I want to make sure we update and keep the schedules in the book too. As soon as we get the schedules from the State Board of Elections, I want to get those posted on our website and out to everybody. Maybe do some email blasts. But there's so many ways we can do this and do it cheaply.
Mary.
So how would I educate voters? First thing I would do is make sure that the county clerk website is up to date and accurate, and that every piece of information is accessible to voters who go there. I also, while I'm campaigning, making sure that voters understand the role of the clerk, but I see it as an ongoing issue. It's not just one election at a time. I think that it's important for the county clerk to get out in the community and talk to people, even once they're elected. I do this as the assessor, and people have different questions at different times. But my job as the clerk is to make sure everyone gets their questions answered, they know where to go to get their information. And I would do everything I can, including going into the community, to make sure that they get that information so that they're able to vote and know where to go, when to go, and how to do it.
Mary, if vote turnout is low in the primaries, what will you do to increase voter turnout for the general election?
Well, again, I think every election is important, whether it's a primary or a general election. And I think that the more we can increase opportunities, increase voter mail-in ballot boxes, where we can extend voting hours. I think that we also need to make it convenient in their neighborhoods, in their precinct. That's something we're not seeing now. So making sure they have the information, knowing where they need to go, encouraging, just because they have the information, they're more encouraged to vote. And I do see it as a role to promote voting. I want to encourage voter participation, do everything I can to do that, including young voters, especially high school students who are close to turning 18, and working with the high schools to help facilitate that.
Drew, if vote turnout is low in the primaries, what will you do to increase voter turnout for the general election?
Well, we have already opened up vote by mail to everybody we can. We've extended the early voting hours. We've extended election day hours. The only thing, and something I've been pushing for a long time, is that we make both the primary and the general election both national and state holidays. That's the only thing that hasn't been tried, and it works in other countries. I think it needs to be done here. I would like to thank Pritzker and the rest of the people for making this primary a holiday for the state, and I think we need to keep going with that.
Drew, now that we have a holiday on election day, will you pursue using schools as polling places?
Yes, definitely. Like I said in the past, that we do not need to be paying private places to hold our polling places when we have so many government buildings in this county alone that could handle it and are ADA compliant. That's another issue we have, that not all of our polling places are ADA compliant, that they have enough parking, that they're big enough on the inside. These are all things we have to do. The other issue I have with using the private places for polling locations is they do not abide by the campaign laws as far as it goes for letting candidates be 100 feet from the door or their yard sign. If they are still within their property, they are calling private property does not affect.
Mary, now that we have a holiday on election day, will you pursue using schools as polling places?
Absolutely. I think about it. Schools are located in neighborhoods. That's the best. They're convenient. They have Wi-Fi capability. They usually have general large areas where we can make sure that the equipment is set up and where many voters can gather, and we can use several precincts. It makes absolute sense to use government-owned buildings, and I will certainly use them and make sure that they're available for future elections.
Mary, how will you maintain the confidentiality and security of the information you work with? Cook County clerks work with confidential information.
So even as my role as an assessor, I get confidential information. Some of that is, the public records on properties, those are FOIable, but we would make sure that any information we have regarding social security numbers or driver's license or phone numbers, that they're not given out to the public. The information on one property, I don't share with other people. That's not my role. My role is to maintain confidence, and I do that. And certainly as a realtor also. I've been a realtor for 35 years, and that's a huge part of my job in that capacity, to make sure I keep confidential information confidential, and I do.
Drew, how will you maintain the confidentiality and security of the information you work with?
Bring in some of the things that I learned in administration with the Marine Corps. I had a final top secret clearance there. We never had any kind of leak. We did that by having secure areas for hard copies that were only accessible to a certain few. The same thing goes with all of our electronic files, to make sure that they're on a secure server, and have those servers regularly checked and monitored. So I think the military skills would come in perfect here for keeping everything secure.
Drew, what improvements in technology would you like to see in use in the county clerk's office?
First thing I would like to do is change out our touch screens to one that actually would not include barcodes to be counted. I'd like to see that kind of improvement, where what you see is what you get. If it could duplicate the hand ballots, even better, so we put them in the same scanners. The studies I've seen, those barcodes can be changed, and the printed section could be made to make you think what you voted for was what you voted for, but the barcode doesn't. So that's a big improvement on the equipment I'd like to see. I'd like to make sure that we go through all the testing on the security to make sure our systems aren't being hacked. Just a lot of testing on that kind of thing, routinely, regularly. All right, Lee.
Okay. Mary, same question. What improvements in technology would you like to see in use in the county clerk's office?
I believe that the voter registration software could be improved on. I'm not a software expert, but I do know that the software that is used has to be safe and secure and competent. The machines need to be correct. I do, as I'm not the, excuse me, I'm not the clerk right now. I'm not privy to all of the technology that they use in the office, but I would make sure that I learn what we have and how is it working correctly? Is there something better out there that we need to have? And certainly all the technology that's at our disposal, I would use. If it's not working now, we'll get the better technology. And whatever we need to do to give better public service is what I would make sure we have.
Okay. Mary, What can be done to bring more transparency to the office?
Well, I think that with some of the issues we've had with incorrect ballots, it would be good to invite the stakeholders in, the taxing bodies that create referendums, the political parties that have candidates. Let's bring them in and make sure that the ballots are correct before we send them to the printer. Let's make sure that when we do the counting of the 5% of the votes that come in, that the state now requires to be hand counted, let's make sure we have representatives from the community, from the taxing bodies, from the political parties, and some neutral parties. We need to make sure everyone can see what we're doing and make sure that we're not preventing anyone from finding out what we're doing. So whatever it takes is what we will do, and making sure that we answer the phones and the website is up to date and easy to use. That technology is important. That transparency is important.
Drew, what can be done to bring more transparency to the office?
Like I said before, the yearbook needs to include all of our elected officials throughout the county and how to cook. But the other big thing is, how and when do we purge the voter lists? That I would like to make public. The recounts. And right now, it is not a hand recount. That is what our current clerk is offering to do. The law from the state says it has to go back through a scanner. Those are also something I would like, because they go them right back through the same scanners. You get the same counts. I'd like to see that change. Better notice of when things are changing, polling places, better announcements on that kind of stuff. Just make sure the website has got all of this stuff out there. A better way of seeing their budget. In order to find their equipment, I had to go to the State Board of Elections to get the list of our election equipment. So there is a way to find that. You just need to know how. Thank you.
Drew, what is going well in the department and what will you do to continue or improve on that?
I think they are starting to handle the equipment better. One of my issues in 2018 was the fact that the tech judges were allowed to take the equipment home on a Friday before the election, and then bring it back on Tuesday. I do think that Mary did a good job, the prior clerk, on getting that set up, and I will say reluctantly, thank you to Joe for keeping that up. So going forth, that's one of the programs I want to keep up. I'd like to do a little bit better on it, as being attached to reserve units and having to do mobilizations. How we did those, I can bring that skill into effect to make sure that everybody has what they're supposed to have. Even now, as an election judge this last 4 years, we were missing stuff and I had to get a hold of the office to get it. There's a better way to do that.
Thank you. Mary, what is going well in the department and what will you do to continue or improve on that?
Well, and you're talking about the clerk's department, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I think that overall the recorder's part of it is going basically well. I do have some issues with some of the information that comes through there that I see as an assessor, and I would make some changes there to make that more efficient and correct so that there's not a lot of refiling and redocumenting of those the documents that are important to have on file. I believe that things like marriage licenses and birth and death certificates are fine. I'm aware that the mobile home registration forms, which also go through there, are taken care of. So those are the issues I know are working well, but when I get in there, I have to see what's going on and I have to determine whether it's going well and whether it needs improvement. So that's what I would do.
Mary, Have you thought about what you might do with the $2.5 million in automation funds raised for ROD?
So for the recorder of deeds, again, I think that there should be, now I have experience in these documents as a realtor and an assessor. So my knowledge of the recorder's department, I would like to see actually a mapping person. And I know that's going to get into the weeds for a lot of people, but the people that actually put your PIN numbers on the property and can determine whether the information on a transfer declaration is correct, I believe we need to have a person like that in the recorder's office, that it connects with the assessment office, with the recorder's office, with the clerk's office in preparing the tax bills. It's all connected. So I would spend money if we needed more people and if we needed any new technology to make that more simple and streamlined, that's what I would do. But again, a lot of that, I have to see what's there now and see what would be best to make the office more efficient.
Okay. Drew, have you thought about what you might do with the 2.5 million in automation funds raised for the ROD?
Use it what they're for. We're supposed to be using it to automate the system to make it easier, faster, and more reliable. So I would like to look at what we have and what we need to get to that point. I too have grown up in a construction family. I know how important that deed is. That is the biggest investment of your life. You need to make sure it is there and it is recorded correctly. So once we figure out what equipment we have and what it takes to make it more efficient and easier to use, that's another complaint I've been hearing from different people, that it takes forever to get anything out of there. So hopefully, once we can compare what we have, we can see what we need. But until you do that, you need to do the review.
Thank you. Our candidates will now provide us with a closing statement. Mary?
Thank you. We need a new county clerk. We cannot afford to keep someone that makes careless mistakes and blames them on glitches or human error. It takes attention to detail and a desire to do things right, which is currently lacking. I am the candidate that has proven experience to take on this position. I will step in and make this an efficient, professional, and transparent department. I will make sure the ballots are properly prepared. I will professionally train election judges so that they are confident in performing their especially important roles. I will put vote by mail drop boxes in convenient locations throughout the county. I will properly prepare office staff to make sure they are able to competently serve the public. I am the best candidate for this position, and I will make the changes we need and have a right to expect in this office. Please remember your vote does count, and if we want to see a change, we must participate in democracy and vote. Please make sure you vote by mail at an early voting location or at your designated polling place on June 28th. I humbly ask for your vote in the primary election and again in the general election in November. Thank you.
Drew?
Okay. Again, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. I hope I have answered your questions. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to my campaign. I hope you understand that this office is one that who you pick should be based on their skills, knowledge, and experience to do the job, and not just based on things that have no bearing on the job, like party, race, gender, national origin, or religion. Those attributes should be used for making the laws so they represent you and your values. For those offices that must follow and enforce the laws, you want someone that you can put all that down aside and be able to follow the laws as they were written and not spin them to reflect their own beliefs. Like the saying, justice is blind, we need a person to be the same in this office, someone that will look at the facts and only the facts. I hope I can count on your vote and support so we can have safe, secure, and accurate election results, that all your clerical needs will be met, and they are processed correctly in a timely and a cost-effective fashion. Thank you for your time today. Andrew Drew Georgie, Jr., candidate for McHenry County Clerk and Recorder.
Again, this concludes our candidate forum. Thank you very much for our candidates and our helpers. This will be posted shortly. And thank you, voters. Be sure and vote.